Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Monday, September 23rd, 2024. And I'm just going to put the date for now, but basically the topic is going to be one, reworking sketches, and also exploring different like pen and ink techniques, like how to render. So yeah, to begin with, I did these sketches from imagination and without construction lines, which was yesterday's video. And there's another video where I talked about, I think last week, where I talked about like the different stages of like sketching or of a drawing or something like that. And I would say that like if you're sketching from imagination, it's important to just kind of get it down on paper. So just get the idea down, knowing that you're going to work on it some more. And that's why it's good to practice sketching, because it's an approach to drawing. It's a type of drawing, and it allows you to put the idea down without getting stuck on making it look right or look good, because that stuff will come later, but it'll get in the way of the idea. So make it sketchy enough to where you can come back and work on it, because your mind will work on it. Now with that said, like I could already tell that, so I'll just kind of go over like my thought process. I knew pretty much immediately that I wasn't happy with this drawing or this sketch. However, so these were like some of the things that I didn't like about it. Number one, I didn't like the drawing itself. However, and also like the shading and stuff, because I was talking like the way I am now, but then and I was sort of experimenting, which, like I said, it could result in like an overworked drawing. However, I'm also world building and creating characters, and I mean, if I were to really illustrate every character I have in mind, we're talking about a book series, so we're talking about hundreds at least of characters, and then like all the whole world. However, I'll illustrate whichever ones I'm able to get to. And so you have to have the freedom to just sketch. I mean, you have to do a lot of sketching and a lot of drawing and painting and all of that illustration. So that's more important than trying to draw everything perfectly, is what I'm getting at. And on top of that, I actually like this character, because otherwise, if I played it safe, I may not have drawn this, is really what I'm getting at. Now, the other way to approach it is to look at other people's work, like your inspirations or reference or something like that. Now the problem with that is someone else came up with that, and so your stuff will be very derivative, and that's the problem. And that's kind of the problem with art these days, with illustration specifically, because that's what I'm interested in, is illustration. So with that said, once I reach this point and I want to work on this, refine it, like fix it, then what I'm gonna do is just get on Pinterest, for example, and just browse real quick, because I'm sure everybody has their Pinterest boards and it saves ideas and stuff. So my approach, and this is something that I've been developing, is to come up with your own stuff and then just kind of browse real quick, and that way you don't have to be dependent on like what you find. Like, for example, I don't need a ton of reference to work on this, because I already put down my idea. So now I'm just needing like maybe some pointers, or like some like basic ideas, if you will. So with all that said, see, I'm already liking this character more. So let's go over the other topic I was talking about, which is like different inking techniques. So one thing is, when you're using like a pen, also pencil, basically a drawing instrument, where you're using line. You can, like, I have an idea for this character's hair, and you can use like a continuous line kind of thing. Which can be interesting. And so like so we kind of fill in the details there, and then just go in and you can draw in the negative space that way. So the point is, like, one, it'll make it more interesting, and then two, it can save you some drawing. Like, you don't have to draw every strand of hair. And I like this because it can make the character, like first you're figuring out like the look, you're figuring out like of the work itself of like your drawing and the world, and then also it involves the viewer more. Like, it lets me fill in the detail as like the viewer. So this outline, so notice that like I added that, and I'm just gonna keep it that way. And like I mentioned in yesterday's video, just do it to where you feel okay with it, and then just leave it. Then the other thing I'll talk about is like what I just did right there. So it's part of the style. So you might ask, so I'll see, like, for example, people will like that look, and they'll just kind of add it because they like maybe the marks, like the way it looks. However, maybe they don't understand like why like why that was put there. So when you're using pen or line, you have to think about like the form. That's one thing. Like, I don't have to put that at all, and so let's just kind of talk about that. Let me work on this character right here. Again, I'm just gonna like browse real quick, and honestly, like with Pinterest, especially if you like save pictures on like your boards and stuff, like you pretty much have like easy reference. But again, it's better to like come up with your own thing, and then the reference is pretty easy. You can find it within seconds like I just did, because you're wanting the reference to conform to your drawing, your idea, and it'll just look more like something you came up with, which is awesome. Like that's what makes it interesting. So with that said, like we use like one approach here, just kind of that style. But with this one, I'm gonna go with like a simpler, like maybe more graphic style, if you want to call it that. So with that said, I'm going to decide, so in this reference picture that I have, the light is actually, like there's light coming from here and then there's light coming from here. So then the question might be like, how do you do that in a more like not feathered or crosshatch style? One, you can decide to just use the line right here and then simplify, get rid of like the halftone. You could do it that way. So since we said that there's light here and there's some kind of like light over here, so that's just something to keep in mind. And then think about like the shape. So you see how like there's actually a halftone right here. Like, so there's different ways to approach that. You could do it like crosshatchy, which I'm not gonna do. I mean, I guess this is kind of a Mignola, Mike Mignola, like the Hellboy look. So again, I'm looking at reference, but this character is the character I drew. I didn't start a timer, by the way. We'll just kind of just work on this, and that will probably be about 20-30 minutes. So this way I can not only fix my drawing, but I can add some interesting lighting. And I guess you could say that it makes it more realistic, but it's still, the style is still kind of a cartoony style. So you just kind of, it's like you're make it more contrasty if you go for this look. And then also because of the reference, you can fix some of your drawing, like make it look better. Now, so what I just did right there, you can eliminate that too, because that's one thing with like that Hellboy look, is that there's no feathering, and the closest to feathering would be something like you might have like this kind of thing. So you want to decide what shape it is and then just fill in the shape. Anyway, that's one example. Like, you wouldn't even really have that, like you would just combine them into like a more simplified group of shadows. And the reason it looks correct is because your eyes sort of fill in like the detail. So that's one way you can compare like the difference. That just is more contrast. And then you kind of decide like like for example, there's shadow right here. It's not even like a shadow, it's actually like a half tone, if you will. I mean, I don't know the technical term for it, but it gets darker right here. And again, with pen, less is more. I mean, if you like the drawing, then just leave it. I wouldn't even go there. So let's move on to this one. Again, I'm just gonna like scroll stuff that I saved and just see like the first thing that kind of pops up as being helpful. And it doesn't really matter like what it is. So for example, a lot of times it's like the shading that is helpful, or just even like kind of like the character, like the vibe. So for example, I just kind of looked at stuff and then it just allows me to kind of do my thing. So there's a lot of like improvisational. It's very similar to music. I like to compare drawing to music because it's just pretty similar. I mean, they're both art, and like they're both things that I practice. But just going back to like the line work, so we did like kind of this cross hatchy thing. We did kind of a more graphic look right here, and then here we can go with maybe take a little bit more time. There's that. So kind of a blend of these two. So this one is like quick, like kind of has like a quick look to it. This one has a more like simplified, which is good. It looks good. And then maybe this one is like a more careful approach. Like not too sketchy, but kind of. So like kind of like that. And like it's up to you as the artist, like how you want to do this. So this is heavily on like the line work, and it can still be colored. So for example, this can still tell you like how to color it, because that could just be a color, and then there's like the gradation, like it already tells you right there. And as far as like the color scheme, I mean, just keep it minimal and the colors will look like any color will look okay if you keep it pretty limited. And then sometimes what'll happen is you'll accidentally see that like a certain color scheme like works. Color is like its own thing. So in this example, I'm putting down the line and then just putting in like the hash marks, which is kind of like turning the form a little bit. Like, again, less is more. You don't have to get too crazy with it. Just kind of blend out like the dark areas. So that's one way, and then we'll wrap up with this. So this is part of this is showing the inking technique, and also just how to go back and kind of work on sketches once more, and how like just by coming up with your own sketches out of your own imagination, it makes it like, one, it makes it easier to just look up reference real quick, since you already know like what you want to draw, and so you're not stuck on the reference, you're not a slave to it. Two, it'll look more like your style. I mean, because people talk about, well, what's your style and stuff. Well, anything that comes out of your mind, like, is gonna be a lot like your style. Like, it's already gonna be a given. And so there's that. And then the other thing is, it'll just be more interesting. It won't be the same old thing that everybody else is doing. And honestly, aside from stuff like external validation or trying to like do commercial work or something like that, there is no reason that an artist wouldn't want to have their own like style. I mean, that's self-expression. But I mean, I understand like the commercial aspect of it, or maybe like the external validation, like you want to do a style that is trendy or popular, which is not to say that you can't have influences, because like I said, I mean, some of my influences are like the cross-hatching and like that Hellboy, Mike Mignola graphic shadow look, which is nice. So it's not that you can't have influences. And it's nice to be able to like switch back and forth. So again, it's a lot like music. It's nice to be able to play in, you know, different styles or different variations. But yeah, just by like coming out with my own thing like this, like out of imagination, I don't have to rely on the reference. It's just kind of there for really to help me. And also, I mean, if you see reference that you just really want to sketch, that's good too. That's like a study is what I call that. Sometimes I just want to sketch things I see, and it's also good for like drawing from life is the best, really, but obviously we can't always do that. And plus, my story is like a fantasy story, so obviously I'm going to be making up a lot of things. So here's some more like kind of technique as far as like textures and stuff like that. I mean, this is kind of a Mobius kind of thing, which is another big influence. I mean, obviously, if you like to draw, especially with pen and stuff, you're gonna like Mobius, you're gonna like Mike Mignola, and also like the old school illustrators that are like awesome. So yeah, thanks for joining me today and for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. And until next time, keep on sketching.